Some mysteries don't stay buried in the ocean. They march, they whisper, and sometimes they vanish before your eyes. You are knockouts, and welcome to another episode of Thoughts That Keep Me Up at Night with Kit. I'm Kit, and tonight I will be your guide as we hop on a boat, cruise across a couple oceans to examine some luxurious and inviting islands. Doesn't sound too bad, does it? Last week, we already went on a road trip and traveled a little bit closer to my home as we examined some creepy cryptids of the Intermountain West. This week, I'm steering us towards something a little closer to my heart and heritage, with tonight's thought. What are some of the unsolved mysteries of Polynesia? Though I have both Hawaiian and Maori blood, I'm still learning how to reconnect with my culture and be a part of these beautiful traditions. But as I was doing my research into my culture, I came across a few myths and legends I can't seem to get out of my mind. So I've decided to unload them all onto you. Congratulations. If you're new here, don't worry, I'll explain, but if you're not, you already know that we break it down into 4 different acts. Where it came from, how it evolved, why it matters now, and what's next. But like the last few episodes, we're going to switch up the formatting a little bit and break it down into 4 different categories. Tonight, we're going to have 2 islands, 2 stories. The Night Marchers of Hawai'i, the haunting tragedy of Morgan's Corner, the watchful eye of the Taniwha, and the whispers of the vanished Maori tribe. Before I guide you to luscious islands and their secrets, a quick mahalo to our sponsor, B0 Plastic, a company helping to make sure that our footprint doesn't haunt the generations to come. The link is in the description below, but I'll tell you more about their aloha later. Now, without further ado, grab your tiki torches, march down this trail of sand, and head with me into the dark. The first story takes us deep into the Hawaiian night. Imagine drums echoing through the valley, torches flickering in the blackness, and footsteps. Too many footsteps for the empty road ahead. The Night Marchers, or as local Hawaiians call them, the Huaka'ipo, are said to be the spectral armies of ancient Hawaiian warriors. They follow sacred paths carved into the islands, retracing routes of battle and ceremony. To stumble into their procession is to stand before death itself. The warning is clear. Never look them in the eye. Drop flat to the ground, press your face to the earth, and show respect. That humility may be the only thing that saves you. Even now, local and tourists alike report hearing phantom drums, or catching sight of firelight wavering in the distance. A sound, a shadow, and then nothing. But every Hawaiian child grows up knowing Night Marchers are not just a myth. They're a presence. I knew that there were stories held only for the locals, but this is one that I feel will stay with you, even as a tourist. If the Night Marchers remind us that the past never really leaves, then our next story reminds us that tragedy lingers in place, saturating the land with fear long after the screams have faded. Tucked away on a twisting road on the Hawaiian island of Oahu is Morgan's Corner, a name whispered with unease. Curve in the road, a place where headlights falter, and history is soaked in grief. The most well-known story is of a woman who tragically ended her life here, seeing an end through a rope and a tree. Locals say that her spirit never really left. Drivers report seeing a pale figure swaying above the bend, while others hear voices when no one else is there. And some even feel something cold and limp brush across their shoulder when they walk the road. The spot became infamous for car accidents, strange deaths, and even suicides, each one tightening the knot of Morgan's Corner's reputation. For thrill seekers and paranormal hunters, it's irresistible. For others who heed the warnings, it's a place to be avoided at all costs. I've never personally been to Morgan's Corner, but I have been to Oahu. Standing anywhere on that island is like a spiritual awakening. Sure, I may be a little biased, but when you bypass the tourism of it all and integrate yourself with the local communities, you see a whole different side of the land you're standing on. And I can only think of one other place where strong spiritual energies could reside. Before we hop on the thought jet and fly back to my other home away from home, New Zealand, I want to pause and thank one of the protectors of not only our culture, but our oceans, B0 Plastic. If you're like me and you don't want to sacrifice convenience in order to get sustainability, then B0 Plastic will help you keep the mono alive. All products sold are guaranteed to be 100% environmentally friendly, vetted by the founder and CEO to ensure quality and credibility, produced and made in the USA, and accessible as well as affordable. Some of these daily items include products like toothpaste and dental floss, laundry detergent and lint balls, dish soap and dishcloths, and trash and waste bags. If that sounds like a good place to put your energy, then at the end of this episode, I encourage you to either scroll down to the description below and click on the link, or scan the QR code on screen and use code KIN, that's K-I-N, for 10% off your very first order. It's another really easy way to support yourself, our planet, my sponsor, and of course this podcast. So if you decide to aho'a'o, I really appreciate your contribution on behalf of myself, B0 Plastic, and the Polynesian Islands. New Zealand's rivers and coastlines are alive with more than just fish and current. They are home to the taniwha, or shapeshifters. Sometimes they appear as dragons, other times as reptilian beasts lurking beneath the waves, or even as a mundane log drifting silently in the current. To some iwi, they are guardians, protectors of sacred places. To others, they are warnings, blamed for drownings, landslides, and floods. When the earth shook or the rivers swelled, the elders would say, "The taniwha have moved." Natural disasters became mythic memory. And even today, people swear they have seen strange shapes cutting through the water, or heard guttural noises rising from the riverbeds. Are they legends, metaphors, or is there something older still, watching from below? Unlike Hawai'i, I've never been blessed enough to visit New Zealand. Even so, there is a quiet calling in my soul that longs for a place I've never even laid eyes on. Strong and insistent, like our need for oxygen. If there is such a legend, then surely it must exist in a place as magical as New Zealand. Now, if the taniwha remind us the guardians can be just as terrifying as monsters, then the next mystery asks a different question. What happens when an entire group of people vanish, leaving only whispers behind? Deep in the Waipoa forest, where the canopy swallows light and sound, locals tell of a tribe that may have once lived there. A people who carved great stoneworks and built a life among the trees. Archaeologists have uncovered massive stone formations in the area, yet their origin remains murky. Some Maori elders insist that they are evidence of pre-Maori civilizations, a chapter of history suppressed by the government. Others say the stones are still remnants of a tribe who slipped quietly into myth. Visitors to Waipoa often report unsettling feelings. Whispers in the brush, phantom lights moving between the trees, and the sensation of being watched. The mystery endures, not just of where the tribe went, but of why their story is kept so quiet. As a third-generation American, I've already heard a similar story. The colony of Roanoke. So the real question is If similar stories of groups of people vanishing in mysterious ways exist all around the world, what makes this particular tribe such a secret? Okay, thank you for hanging out with me while we rocked through a couple of my favorite myths and legends while exploring my culture. To quickly recap, we covered the night marches of Hawai'i, the haunting tragedy of Morgan's Corner, the watchful eyes of the Tamifa, and the whispers of the vanished Maori tribe. If you ever find yourself on either of these beautiful islands, be sure to take a moment to soak it all in. Not just the islands themselves, but the communities and mana that exists there. Because I assure you, if there were ever a time and place to believe in magic, it's when you're staring at the ecosystems of faith and nature, and how they create balance between our world and the next. Speaking of mana, let me remind you of my brand new newsletter. If you go to Thoughts That Keep Me with Kin at SUBSTACK.com, you can subscribe to my newsletter for free and receive exclusive behind-the-scene content, idea polls, and updates to our latest episodes. Remember to go check out Be Zero Plastic if you are interested in zero plastic alternatives and a one-stop shop. And thank you again to Be Zero Plastic and all of you for making this podcast happen. Next week, we close out October by investigating the conspiracies that keep us up at night. Remember to subscribe if you have not already, and hit that little notification bell if you would like a reminder of when the newest episode drops. We have a new episode every Thursday at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. You can obviously find this podcast here on YouTube, and it will very soon be available on Spotify. I can't wait to see you all next week, but until then, say hey to the dark side.